and His perfection is not only in the numeration of His creation, but has much praise that would please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَزِنَةَ عَرْشِهِ وَمِدَادَ كَلِمَاتِهِ, and by the weight of His throne, or by the weight that His throne is, and by the number of words that وَمِدَادَ كَلِمَاتِهِ. And we know from the ayah in the Quran how much, there's one ayah in the Quran that talks about the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what in the Quran about if all of the ocean was turned into ink and all of the trees were turned into pens, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not be exhausted. So one of the best of words which we intended for today. So everyone yesterday, some people read Quran, some people alhamdulillah stuck to their adhkar. Today we'll learn one simple and the most important is Surah Fatiha. We had said that we would cover this. So let's try our best. There are 7 ayahs that we can cover. And so throughout the day, just take one ayah at a time. You can repeat it several times. And I tried to do it with many of the other adiyah. Try to ground the sound. So if there's tawassut on a letter, you can touch your fingers. It helps you to commit to the sound a little bit better. So let's get right to it, inshallah. I wanted to point out, we don't have the time to cover the hadith, but everyone knows the hadith of, it's narrated in the books of Sahih Muslim on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala an, who said, I heard the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam alayhi salatu wassalam say, قال Allah, Allah said. What kind of hadith is it? Hadith Qudsi. And one of the young people can give me an explanation of what Hadith Qudsi is? Pretend you're young, go ahead. One of the adults can help. What's Hadith Qudsi?
From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala apart from the Quran. It's not a part of the Quran.
And whose mouth is?
Mouth Allah.
So it's the mouth of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and it is the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this hadith is lengthy, but we know قَسَمْتُ الصَّلَاةَ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَ عَبْدِي نِصْفَيْنِ. You have to memorize this hadith. It's very simple. I have split salah between myself and between my slave. فَنِصْفُهَا لِي, and half is for me and half is for my slave. Before we move on, how many people know this hadith? How many people don't know this hadith? And then everyone else is in between. How many people know, how many people don't? You must learn this hadith. It is a great hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, his mouth say the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where he says, I have split salah between myself and between my slave. وَإِذَا قَالَ الْعَبْدِ, and when my slave says, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, all praise and thanks are due to Allah, the Lord of all of the nations, all of the world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to this. He responds to the person who says Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen by saying Hamadani Abdi. So what did Allah call Qasamtu Salata Baini wa Baina Abdi Nisfain? What did He call Surah Fatiha? He called Surah Fatiha Qasamtu Salah. He called Surah Fatiha Salah. So if you have the chance to memorize this hadith, every time we stood in prayer, all of our prayers during the day, and you say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Allah responds to us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to us by saying Hamadani Abdi, my slave. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he is proud, and he refers to the angels, and he is proud to say, my slave has praised me. And when we say وَإِذَا قَالَ, and when the slave says Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, قَالَ Allah, Allah responds to Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim by saying إِثْنَا عَلَيَّ عَبْدِي, my slave has exalted me. My slave has praised me. Ithna, probably exalted would be the best. And when my slave says وَإِذَا قَالَ الْعَبْدِ, and when my slave says Maliki Yawmiddin, Allah responds. And Allah says, Majjadani Abdi. Look, my slave has exalted me, has glorified me. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds by saying, وَلِعَبْدِ مَا سَأَلْ, and my slave will have whatever he or she asks for. This is just half of the hadith. So every time we stand for salah, every time we stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we read Surah Fatiha, this exchange takes place. But the most important part of this hadith is, what does Allah call you? فَنِصْفُهَا لِي وَنِصْفُهَا لِي عَبْدِي. Allah doesn't call you a slave. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say the creature. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say one of the creation. He says, my slave. And He makes reference to you in the personal. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, the fifth rightly guided Khalifa, if you maybe studied some of his life, when he used to lead the prayer in front of his whole Jama'ah, he was the Khalifa of the time, he used to pause. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Big pause. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. He would pause so much. One day the Jama'ah came to him and they said, why so much gap? What was his answer? I'm waiting to hear from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surah Fatiha is an experience. Salah is an experience. We go through the motions, but if you realize at one point, Salah becomes something fresh every time. There's so much to discuss. I wish that you just take this. And I'm not a big plugger, but I took a class called Meaningful Prayer. Does anyone take Meaningful Prayer? I definitely need to take Meaningful Prayer. Sheikh Abdul Nasser Jangda teaches a course. It transforms your salah not just into, okay, is my back straight? You'll learn all the fiqh parts of it, but then eventually you need to know why we say the certain things in salah. Why do we, in sajda, when you're at your lowest peak, when your head is touching the ground, your brain is low, your heart is higher, what do you say in sajda? Subhana Rabbiyal. That's in ruku, but in sajda, the Rabbiyal, lift up your alif. Say A'la. How are you going to get away with A'la at 6 o'clock in the morning? Let's lift that up. Subhana Rabbiyal. Good. You say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, you are the highest, and where are you? You're at the lowest. We've done this on many occasions. I've said this. But keep in mind, your brain is also lower. Your head is at the lowest point, and all of your attention is focused on your closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the sajda of salah. Know what every part of salah means. Let's repeat the first few ayahs of Surah Fatiha. Please try to enunciate so that you realize you are speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allow when Allah speaks back to you with what love and clarity He does. So try your best to enunciate. Please repeat after me. Can you say the word bumblebee?
Bumblebee.
By look, you guys are reciting like this. I can't see your mouth. Sit straight and lift your voices. Bumblebee.
Bumblebee.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
The word, it has 4 major words, so I want you to take your tongue and open it. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
One more time. This is what you're going to be working on. It's coming from the dads. Is it Alhamdulillah, Allah, or Alhamdulillah?
Alhamdulillah.
Like saying the word raw fish. Rabbil Alameen.
Rabbil Alameen.
So you have 2 lams, Alhamdulillah and Rabbil Alameen. Don't bounce both of them. Some of you are saying Rabbil Alameen. So try it again. Take a deep breath in through your nose. When I'm done, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Brothers, we talked about this yesterday in Yasin. Is it Alhamdulillah, all, or is it al, right? So everyone say application. Always remember, alif is your A in application. It's not all. It's not necessary to get deep into your chest. Everyone say al. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Like a bear growls, not like a lion roars. So a bear growls. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim.
Ar-Rahmanir Rahim.
count it off, a lot of us say Maliki Yawmiddin. Le. Maliki Yawmiddin.
Maliki Yawmiddin.
Now you're working on this throughout the day. So is it ma, or the fatha, the line on the top, zabr, what sound does it make? Just the zabr, what sound does it make by itself? So everyone say the word cat. So meme, at, meme, at. What sound does it spell? Mat. Everyone say mat. Mat. Some of you are pressing your lips together. In the Urdu language, not everyone's first language, the a is pronounced by not moving your upper lip. It's flat. Ma. Right? So if you lift your chin, a lot of time, you know how your grandmother used to say to sit up? It's because the clarity of the sound. Also because you're reading Quran. So lift up your chin a little bit and say because non-Arabs were so afraid to say alif, we think it's an ayn, so try it again. Maliki Yawmiddin.
Maliki Yawmiddin.
First three ayahs, fairly simple. This middle ayah, which splits Surah Fatiha, has a ya shadda. It's a sound we don't have in English, unless you're a football fan. So try it. Can you hold the ya in the middle of your mouth? Say, Iyyaka.
Iyyaka.
Suck the sound a little bit. Say, Yi. Good. Say one more time. Yi. Wouldn't be Sunday morning without that sound. So try it again. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. One more time. Listen to the sound. Don't say wa iyyaka nasta'in. Wa. Iyyaka na'budu.
Iyyaka na'budu.
Budu. Iyyaka na'budu.
Iyyaka na'budu.
It's like saying the word wet. Like the word wet. Say wet.
Wa
iyyaka nasta'in. I hear the letter ayn throughout the word. How many ayns are there in nasta'in? One. I hear wa iyyaka. Where? What? One more time. Wa iyyaka. Wa iyyaka nasta'in. Four sounds. Make it separately. Nasta'in. Wa iyyaka nasta'in. Good. I'll read the last section for you. And then my recommendation, because I don't take a long time in the morning, before you go to sleep, just break into a group of 2-3 people and just read Surah Fatiha to each other. And then you're done. You go. You'll help each other hear each other, inshallah. The sound is a ha sukun. It's like emptying the air out of your chest. Ihdina as-sirata. It's like a pump. Use a bicycle pump. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Good thought. Very good thought. The brother said, sirata. He filled the air. It has safir in it. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. I'm actually going to make one suggestion. Don't read Surah Fatiha to each other. Look and read it. If one person has it on their phone, how many people have read and how many people memorize Surah Fatiha by looking at it? Let's rephrase that question. How many people learn Fatiha just because their parents said it and they kind of just grew? Yeah? And then everyone else doesn't know Surah Fatiha. You need to look at Surah Fatiha, because I said an'amta and the first thing we jumped is an'amta. I think we're not sure where the alifs are. It's a great sunnah to read Quran, but it's a greater sunnah for us to fulfill reading Quran the way the companions did. And those who learned to read would put their finger on the mushaf and read. They would put their finger on each letter, and as the scholars of the past have reminded us, when people can't read Quran, what's the remedy? What do you tell people who can't read Quran? What's the bare minimum that they should do? They should put their finger on it. And so many times I've met deaf Muslims, I've met Muslims who are just taking Shahada, Muslims who've been their whole life Muslim but just never read. And that makes up this immigrant culture that came over and you just haven't read Quran in a long time. Touching the Quran has its own blessing. It's the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So at least daily, touch Quran, read Quran, put your finger in the Mus'haf and follow the words, inshaAllah. So let's finish that up again. أنعمت عليهم. Gargle your sound. غير المغضوب. Gargle it, don't bounce it. Don't say maghdubi. Maghdubi. عليهم. ولا الضالين. Get the opportunity, inshallah. Let's break into groups now. Even if you need to go to sleep, it takes 3 minutes to recite Surah Fatiha. If you don't have dads, uncles, if you